Today we're going to learn Mary by Alex G. This is going to be a simple version where we're just playing through chords. Let's get started. For the intro, we have two chords. A G major 7, take your middle finger and put it on the 3rd fret of the big E string, and your first finger and you put it on the 2nd fret of the little E string. Your middle finger is going to lean on this 2nd string. Can you see how it's kind of touching that? See how it's kind of touching that? So that way that string doesn't ring out, and if you're strumming them one string at a time, it sounds like this. Your second chord is a C major 7, and the way that we're going to finger that is to take your one finger and put it on the 2nd fret of the D string, and your middle finger and put it on the 3rd fret of the A string. And you're only going to strum 5 strings, so the bottom 5. And the way that you play the rhythm for this is like this. Just repeat that over and over until you get to the end of the intro. The next section is the verse. Our first chord is an E minor 9, so we're going to take our first finger and put it on the 2nd fret of the A string, and the middle finger and the 2nd fret of the little E string, and you're strumming them all. And then your next chord is going to be a B5 or a B power chord, and your first finger stays on that 2nd fret of the A string, and your ring finger goes to the 4th fret of the D strings, and you're just strumming those 2 strings. And then your next chord is a C major 7, which we played in the intro, where your first finger goes on the 2nd fret of the D string, and your middle finger goes on the 3rd fret of the A string. So if we were to play through those first 3 chords, it would sound like this. So we've got E, E, our next chord is going to be a G, and we're going to play this a simple way so that we can transition to the chord after that. And you're going to put your first finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, and your middle finger on the 3rd fret of the big E string. And then we're going to let that first finger lean on this first string. So it looks like that, and it rings out like this. The next chord is an E sus2, which is going to be like the B power chord, but we're going to add another finger and we're going to strum all the strings. So your first, let's start with the little finger. Put your pinky finger on the 4th fret of the G string, and your ring finger and put that on the 4th fret of the D string, and your first finger and put it on the 2nd fret of the A string, and then you're going to strum all 6 strings. So then the next set of chords, you're playing between the G and that E sus2, so that's going to sound like this. Then you're back to some familiar chords from the intro. We've got G major 7 with the middle finger on the big string on the 3rd fret, and the first finger on the 2nd fret of the little E string, and the second chord, or the chord after that, is that C major 7 that you also played in the intro. where the first finger is on the second fret of the D and the middle finger is on the third fret of the A. So that's going to sound like this. And I'm doing all down strums with that. The next chord, well, and then after you've done all that, you start over and play all of that again. So this set of chords is like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, that last set of G major 7 to C major 7 sounds like this. The next section is a bridge or interlude section, and we're starting with the G chord, and you can either do it with just the 2 fingers, or you've got 1 on the A of the 2nd fret and 2 on the E on the 3rd fret, and you're muting the little string, or you can put your 3 finger down on the 3rd fret of the little string. And then your next chord is a D minor, and for a beginner this might be a kind of a tricky to play. So you're going to put your 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the G string, and your 1st finger on the 1st fret of the E string, and that's going to sound like this. And that only gets 1 strum. And then you have an A minor chord after that, and that is where your 1st finger is on the 1st fret of the B, your middle finger is on the 2nd fret of the D, and your 3rd finger is on the 2nd fret of the G, and it looks like this. And then your next chord is a C chord. You're going to leave your 1st finger and your middle finger where they were. 1st finger, 1st fret, 2nd string, B string. 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, and then your 3rd finger is going to go on the 3rd fret of the A string. So the rhythm for those first chords is like this. Then the next chord is an E minor. This is pretty easy. You got middle finger here on the 2nd fret of the D string and your 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the A string. And then you have a B. We're going to play a B power chord, and you're going to put your 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the A string. And your ring and pinky fingers go on, your pinky finger goes on the 4th fret of the G string, and your ring finger goes on the 4th fret of the D string. And you're just strumming those 3 strings that you have fingers on. And then you're going back to an A minor, and then back to a B minor. Well, not a B minor, a B5. So that part sounds like so all together we've got and then the next section we have, or next part of this section, we have F power chord, or an F sharp power chord, which is on the 2nd and 4th frets. where your pinky finger goes on the 4th fret of the D, your pinky finger goes on the 4th fret of the A, and your first finger goes on the 2nd fret of the big E, and you're playing those 3 that you got fingers on. And then you're going to move that whole shape over one string. So now you're on A, D, and G, and you're just going back and forth between those 2 chords for the end of this section here, and that sounds like this. So if we put that whole thing together, this bridge or interlude section sounds like this. Moving on to the chorus. The first one is called a G sus2. So you're going to take your pinky finger and put it on the 3rd fret of the little string, and your ring finger and put it on the 3rd fret of the B string, and then your first finger is going to go on the 2nd fret of the G string, and then your middle finger is going to stretch all the way across and go on the 3rd fret of the big string, and you're going to mute this 2nd string with this big finger again, and it sounds like this. The next chord is a D chord, so that ring finger stays on the 3rd fret of the B string, and your middle finger goes to the 2nd fret of the little E, and your first finger goes to the 2nd fret of the G, and you're strumming 4 strings. And then the next chord is an A chord, where you're all on the same fret with your ring finger going on the 2nd fret of the B, your middle finger going on the 2nd fret of the G, and your first finger goes on the 2nd fret of the D. And then you're back to a C chord, which we've played before. And your first finger goes on the 1st fret of the B, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the D, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the A. So if we put those things together, the rhythm of it sounds like this. G, B, A, C, and you repeat that. You can kind of strum that with any up and down way you want to. So here's what I just did. The second time the bridge comes around, you start with a set of different chords, an E minor, a B, and an A minor. E minor, again, is the middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D and the first finger on the 2nd fret of the A. And this B power chord, or B5 that we're going to play, again, is the 4th finger on, the pinky finger on the 4th fret of the G string, the ring finger on the 4th fret of the D string, and the first finger on the 2nd fret of the A string. You're playing those 3 strings. And an A minor is the first finger on the 1st fret of the B string. The ring finger goes on the 2nd fret of the G string, and the middle finger goes on the 2nd fret of the D string. Strumming 5 strings, and then you're back to a B minor, or I'm sorry, you're back to a B5. So you've got, and then you repeat the rhythm of those 3 chords, which is kind of like 4 chords, anyway, twice. And after you do that, you go back to the same thing you played from the previous bridge. and then you're back to the chorus again, and then after the chorus comes a solo, and there are some chords that get played under the solo. Let's go over that. So the first chord under the solo is an E minor. The next one is a B5. And the next one is an A minor. And the next one is an E minor. And then you're back to a B5. And then an A minor. And then a B5. So this part goes. The second half of the solo chords are not hard to play per se, but there's a big leap. The first one is a C minor / B flat, which means a C minor chord with a B flat in the bass, which all you have to do is go to the 8th fret and you're barring the D, G, B, and E strings. Now you can make this easier on yourself if you take your middle finger and put it over top of your first finger and use that for extra weight. You can also pull down on the guitar to get extra pressure without having to just use your thumb for grip. So you use gravity. Anyway, so it's those 4 strings. And then you got to jump all the way down to an E minor, where you got your middle finger on the 2nd fret of the D string and your first finger on the 2nd fret of the A string. And the rhythm for this is like this. So the whole solo after the solo, you've got another bridge. After that bridge, you've got the chorus again. Then you've got another bridge interlude type situation, which is just over some ooze in the vocals, and that is like the first half of the solo. And that sounds like, and that you're basically just using E minor, B minor, and A minor. E minor, not B minor, E minor, B5, and A minor. So that part goes like this. So it goes like this, which should be familiar. And then you've got a fancy way of playing a set of verse chords that we're just going to play the same way that we played the verse, and then you've got that final verse. So the end of the song sounds like this. hope you enjoyed that lesson. Remember to like and subscribe if you did, and there will be more lessons. Have a good day.